Hello, this is Chaplain John and Chaplain Maria again, and we're coming to you today to talk about to further our discussion on spirituality. And today we're going to talk about principles, practicing those principles which cause the results in our life, which we talked about last time, which results being feelings. And we hope that you did a little bit of assignment there, and you're becoming more aware of feelings as they occur in your own life, and how they affect you and others around you. And if they're coming to you either from an internal source or from an external source, somebody else doing something to you. So if nothing else, I think that'll help you, because it certainly helps me as I practice that, become more aware of my own spirituality. So let's talk about the driving force behind these results and what causes these results. And that, of course, gets us back to that moral compass, which are principles. The principles that are in our lives or not in our lives that cause feelings and reactions in our own hearts and minds and our behavior. So let's Maria, we're going to talk about 5 different ones today, right?
Yes.
So why don't let's just discuss these principles and tell us what they are. And just to remind people, these are only 5 principles out of about 20 or 30 that are out there and working all the time.
Correct.
But let's just talk about them. So, what are they?
Well, there's faith.
Okay.
There's hope. There's love, courage,
Right.
and then integrity.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So let's start with faith, because that's a big one in our heart. Now, we're not talking about faith in a particular religion here again.
No.
Because spirituality isn't religion particularly. But what kind of a faith are we talking about here? Belief, right? A belief, believing in something. What could that be? How could that look in somebody's life?
Belief in a higher power, or a higher strength, something that's guiding you.
Okay, what about belief that if you do a good job, you're going to get promoted? Or what about belief that if I do 50 push-ups a day, I'm going to get healthier?
That's right.
Could it cover those kinds of beliefs too?
Yes.
What are some of the results when you believe something is going to happen? There was a quote from Napoleon Hill, a book written in 1937, and the quote was, "What the mind of man can conceive and believe, it will achieve."
Yeah.
It says in Scripture that as you think, so you become.
Mm-hmm.
So it has a lot to do with belief. So if I believe something and I work toward it, and it's something positive in my life, what are the feelings that I get from that? What are the result of feelings usually?
There's strength, there's peace, there's hope, there's courage. There's many positive feelings.
Absolutely, it can drive your life in a complete light. Right, it can drive your life right toward the light, right
Mm-hmm.
toward the light of a positive experience and a healthy spirit. Now, what are some of the negative things though? Now, the opposite again, as we talked about in one of our prior videos, the opposite of faith isn't just one word. It could be
Doubt.
faith could be loyalty.
Mm-hmm.
The opposite of loyalty would be betrayal.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what kind of feelings do you get when you have everybody's experienced some kind of betrayal, and sometimes we've betrayed others.
Yes.
What do you feel like when you betray people, or when you're betrayed? How do you feel?
Well, you feel shame and guilt, and just you don't feel happy. That's for
Feel
sure.
lost.
You feel maybe insecure.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
What about how does your self-worth feel when you're betrayed?
Low. It's
Very
very
low.
low.
Especially
Mm-hmm.
if it's somebody you really loved.
Yes.
And there's nobody listening or watching this today that hasn't had some kind of betrayal in their life. That betrayal can come from a close family member.
Mm-hmm.
It could come from a spouse. It could come from a boyfriend. It could come from a boss, a brother, a sister. It could come from anybody.
Child.
A child.
Mm-hmm.
It could be just a circumstance.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe going to a movie and expecting a better ending. It could be a lot of things.
It could.
Right? But the practice of that principle of faith and belief is lived out through our what? Through our feelings.
Yes.
It's evidenced in our feelings.
Yes, it is.
And that's very spiritual. Can you touch faith?
No.
Can you see it?
No.
Can you feel it?
No.
I could ask that question about all of these, couldn't I?
Yes, you could.
And
Yes, you
and
could.
so they're all metaphysical. what was some of the other? There was hope.
Hope, integrity.
Integrity is a great one. Honesty.
Yes.
Maria, when somebody asks you a question about something you've done, and it's going to cost you something to give them the correct answer. You know what I mean? It could cost you. It could cost you. Maybe they wouldn't think good of you, or maybe they would be mad at you, but you have integrity, and you're going to have the honesty, and you're going to be honest about it. How do you feel when that question is answered correctly?
I feel peace. I feel freedom. I feel authentic. I feel transparent, and that's ultimately that is the highest level of trust in a relationship.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to remember what you said because you didn't lie, for one thing, right?
That's right.
You don't have that anxiety of being caught. Mm-hmm. There's so many things that are positive. But what about if we practice the other side of that principle and practice the opposite principle, which is very dark?
Yes.
Of integrity, which would be dishonesty, mm-hmm. in any form, whether that be lie or omitting something that you should not have omitted, or deceiving somebody. That all has to do with dishonesty. Mm-hmm. What are the results? How do we feel when we behave like that? What are some of the feelings that we get?
Again, I think it's that guilt, it's that shame, it's that definitely anxiety. You don't have that peace, sadness, and I think in a sense you've betrayed someone else when
right.
you haven't communicated the truth.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So if I look at these principles and we'll for sake of brevity, we've talked about 2, but we identified 5, but we know there's more than that, probably
yes.
close to 20 major principles that we can practice in our lives. And we put all of those principles in a box, in the light box, mm-hmm. all right? Then we take the opposite of all of those principles, the opposite principle, the negative principle, and put those in a box. We would call those positive. In the light box, they would be positive spiritual principles. And in the dark box, it would be negative spiritual principles. Mm-hmm. But they're all principles. And those principles, and if you would list below that box all these feelings, mm-hmm. there's evidence there that these principles are driving all these feelings. Mm-hmm. What box do you want to live your life under?
The light.
Don't we all?
Yes. Yeah.
But yet some of us live our lives under the dark box, or somewhere in between. Mm-hmm. Either we're learning to be a better person, or we're not doing anything and plateauing in our life, or we're moving toward being a negative person. We're doing one of those 3.
Yes.
And if you're plateaued and not doing anything, you're actually going backwards.
Yes,
too.
you are.
And none of that. Can you see or touch any of that?
No.
That's very spiritual.
Mm-hmm.
It's very spiritual. The results are spiritual. The principles themselves are spiritual. We don't understand how they got here or where they came from, or some of us don't. So it's a matter of learning those things. So what would be a good assignment then for our viewers today?
Okay, so what we want you to do this week, again, use your journals and identify spiritual principles as they occur in your life. So for the next 7 days, identify those, and then try to identify what was driving you to make those choices, and then the feelings that occurred afterwards. So it's 3 things that you're journaling, and do that for the next 7 days, and then we'll meet again.